Who is this actually good for? Who should skip it, and is it worth the price for a normal everyday buyer? If you're still on the fence about splurging on a high-end pre-built gaming rig, that's a fair question. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon, and I'm going to walk you through the kind of decisions you need to make before you pull the trigger. First off, the Corsair Vengeance i5200 is marketed as a plug-and-play monster, a liquid-cooled Intel Core Ultra 9 285K, an RTX 5090, 64GB of DDR5, and a dual-chamber case that's practically a light show in itself. It looks insane on paper, but the real test is whether those headline specs translate into a solid day-to-day experience that matches the price tag. I spent a few days running the machine through my own workflow gaming, streaming, video editing, even a bit of 3D rendering because I needed to see if the hype holds up when the lights are on and the heat is actually rising. If you're a competitive gamer who sits in the same chair for 6-hour marathon sessions, this system might feel like a dream. The RTX 5090 kept frame rates above 150 frames per second in titles like Cyberpunk 2077 and Starfield at 1440p ultra settings, and the liquid-cooled Core Ultra didn't dip below 55°C even when I pushed the CPU to 100% during a CPU-intensive benchmark. That kind of thermal headroom is what separates a just-fine rig from a never-worry-about-thermal throttling one. The 64GB of Dominator titanium DDR5 means I could have a dozen Chrome tabs, a video editing timeline, and a game server running simultaneously without a single hitch. For people who live stream while they play, the system stayed smooth, with OBS encoding at 1080p 60 frames per second and the in-game performance staying rock solid. On the flip side, if you're a casual gamer who mostly sticks to indie titles or older games, you'll probably never see the RTX 5090's full potential. The extra GPU power translates to higher resolution or maxed-out settings, not to a better experience on Stardew Valley or Hades. In that scenario, you're paying a premium for hardware that you'll never actually need. The same goes for users whose primary workload is office productivity or web browsing. The sheer horsepower is overkill, and you could get away with a much cheaper system that still handles those tasks flawlessly. Another practical consideration is space and noise. The iCUE LINK 2500X case is massive, about the size of a small wardrobe, and it takes up a good chunk of floor space. If you live in a tight apartment or share a room, you'll need to measure carefully before you commit. The case does come with 9 RGB fans and a dual-chamber design that isolates the power supply, which helps with airflow, but the fan noise is noticeable when the CPU is under load. I'd rate it as a moderate hum rather than a roar, but the constant whir can be a distraction if you're trying to record voiceovers without a dedicated soundproof booth. One hidden trade-off is upgradability. The dual-chamber layout looks sleek, but it makes it a bit of a puzzle to swap out components later. The motherboard is not a standard ATX, it's a custom Corsair board that forces you into their own ecosystem for things like RGB control and fan headers. If you ever want to replace the GPU with a newer model, you'll find the card dimensions are limited by the case's internal geometry. That's not a deal-breaker for most people, but it does mean you're somewhat locked into the current configuration unless you're willing to wrestle with the internals. Now let's talk value. The i5200 isn't cheap, and that price includes the brand name, the integrated iCUE software, and a level of craftsmanship you'd expect from a boutique builder. For someone who wants a high-performance system out of the box, with cable management already taken care of, the convenience factor can be worth the premium. The real value comes from the liquid cooling loop that Corsair built themselves. You don't have to buy an aftermarket AIO and risk leaks or poor contact. The cooling efficiency is a tangible benefit that keeps the system quiet enough for nightly gaming sessions, and it prolongs component lifespan, a subtle but long-term cost saving. If you're the type of buyer who enjoys tinkering, building, and tweaking, a custom build might give you more bang for your buck. You could assemble a similar spec for a fraction of the price, choose a different case that fits your aesthetic, and pick a fan profile that suits your noise tolerance. But if you're not comfortable with the idea of opening a case, testing thermal paste, or troubleshooting potential BIOS issues, a pre-built like the Vengeance i5200 removes that anxiety. It's a Readatorin machine that boots straight into Windows, with Windows 11 already installed and the iCUE suite ready to customize the lighting. Practical strengths? The cooling solution is genuinely effective, the performance stays high under prolonged load, and the RGB ecosystem is cohesive. Everything from the fans to the CPU block to the RAM can be synchronized with a single app. The weaknesses? The size, the fan.